19th gene key, the future human being. Siddhi, sacrifice. Gift, sensitivity. Shadow, codependence. Programming partner, 33rd gene key. Codon ring, the ring of Gaia, 1960-61. Physiology, body hair. Amino acid, isoleucine. The 19th shadow, codependence, the great change. Along with the 49th and the 55th shadows, the 19th shadow is perhaps the most topical shadow of our current age. We are living through a time of unprecedented global mutation. This mutation is on many different levels, from the most physical to the most spiritual. To truly capture the essence of what is occurring to humanity, one needs to look not so much at the spiritual dimension, but at the opposite end of the spectrum, the bioenergetic. The mind of man is steeped in causality. As long as we recognize a cause, we believe there is a purpose. If you are a geneticist, everything you look at appears to serve the purpose of the evolution of life. Whereas if you are a mystic, everything serves the purpose of the evolution of consciousness. For millennia, humanity has tried to understand the purpose of life from the spiritual dimension, but until fairly recently, we have not had the ability to understand the purpose of life from the material dimension. With the advent of genetics, we are beginning to see the microprocess that drive evolution itself. A scientist might say that man's spiritual evolution comes about as a result of biological evolution. The mystic tends to see it the opposite way around. What is fascinating about the scientific view is that it focuses on the lower frequency realms, the realm of matter. The 19th shadow represents an aspect of our genome that is currently undergoing an intense mutation. A mutation is spontaneous and usually sudden quantum leap from one state to another. In genetics, mutations are often the mistakes that happen when genes copy one another. Such mistakes can lead to fascinating new chemical combinations, which can in turn lead to evolution of entirely new forms. The 19th shadow of codependence has its roots deep within our tribal ancestral past. Codependence refers to the state of consciousness below independence. To be independent means to rely only upon yourself, whereas to be codependent means to rely on outside agencies. As primitives, we primarily relied upon nature for our survival, and because we relied upon an outside agency, anthropomorphized it. In other words, we created gods to represent that agency. Thus, it is out of the 19th shadow that all the world's religions have been born. Our relationship with God, or a set of gods, is a purely codependent relationship because it is based on this need for outside authority. It is here in the 19th gene key that one of the great human stories is coded, the story of our relationship to God. As long as man believes in a God outside himself, the frequency of our planet will remain at the level of the 19th shadow. The vibration of human suffering depends upon the existence of a separate authority of a higher frequency than us. This last sentence is the ultimate definition of what it means to be a victim, which is what characterizes the shadow frequency. The programming partner to the 19th shadow is the 33rd shadow of forgetting. In creating a God out there, we have forgotten the power that lies dormant within us. The ultimate radiance we have outside ourselves is on food. God has always been about food, and food has always been about territory. Food production was based upon tribal territory, which is why the different nations and cultures developed in the first place. But today, at least in the developed world, food no longer has to come from our own tribe. It can be flown in from anywhere in the world. For one thing, our dietary needs are changing as we learn to manipulate our environment with greater efficiency. Through sciences such as nuclear physics and genetics, humanity is beginning to play God more and more, and is thus moving from a state of codependence to a state of independence. Because we can now outwit the gods with modern technology, we no longer need them as much. The more advanced the society, the deeper the question God as an outside agency. However, the 19th shadow is currently undergoing a huge genetic mutation, which means that man's reliance on religion is also undergoing a transformation. The old tribal fears of not having enough are dying, and with them the great religions. The breaking of such a deep-seated and ancient codependent relationship has powerful repercussions for our world. The old ways must die to the new. Such is the purpose of mutation, and the process is one of the destruction. Only as the dust finally settles will the new creation become fully realized. The reason of all this can seem so terrifying is that it represents a fork in our evolutionary development in which an entirely new path is opening, a path in which human beings will have to leave behind the old tribal codependent ways. The whole world is dividing into those who are becoming more independent and those who cling to the comfort of the old ways. On a global level, we are beginning to see this made manifest now in the battle between globalization and factionalism and between science and religion. For us as individuals, the transformation of the 19th shadow will see its deepest manifestation in our relationships. The old-style codependent relationships of the working husband and the homebound wife are giving way to a new level of independence. The liberation of women is changing the infrastructure of our civilization, and children are increasingly cared for collectively so that both mother and father retain a higher level of independence. Whether we like this or not, it is occurring all across the developed world. Our children are growing up as the children of society rather than the children of a single tribal family. Because of the huge genetic shifts taking place across the board, male-female relationship dynamics are more challenging than ever. A great change is coming, and roles are changing to accommodate the birth of a new paradigm. Although it may be a difficult birth, in the not too distant future, the 19th shadow will have disappeared entirely from our world. The contemporary mutation moving through this 19th gene key is having an unprecedented effect on all life on our planet. As a vital aspect of the codon ring of Gaia, along with the 60th and the 61st gene keys, it is breaking down the very patterns of the world psyche. The reactive rigidity of the 60th shadow and the psychosis of the 61st shadow have long held sway on our planet. A great reaction is occurring within the chemistry of our DNA as the old ways appear to tighten their grip on the only reality they have known. There is enormous fear being generated through the shadows of this codon ring and enormous potential violence as our codependence is broken. However, the truth is that all life is and always has been interdependent because all life is one. Even independence is an illusion, and this realization is bringing an end to the world psychosis that operates out of the 19th shadow, low-frequency survival-based reality. It is through this ring of Gaia that we must and will eventually see and will live once again in union with all beings that share this planet Earth. Repressive nature, needy. The repressive nature of the 19th shadow emerges as neediness or clinging. These are people who cannot let go of the past out of fear of being alone. This creates catastrophic relationship dynamics based on making other people victims of their need. Repressive natures can be very cunning with the way they transmit their shadow patterns. These people will very likely use subtle tools such as guilt to get their own needs met. They need to feel needed, and they will act out of all kinds of dramas, often totally unconsciously, to get the attention they crave. They are masters of negative attention, drawing other people's energy towards them without caring what expression it takes. Even violence is a form of attention. The only way to break out of such patterns is to move into independence. Reactive nature, isolated. The angry expression of this gene key is isolationist. These people refuse any attention, loudly proclaiming that they don't need anyone. Such a nature only pretends to be independent, while beneath the surface they seethe with rage. Of course, people that isolate themselves like this always take great care to do it right before everyone else's eyes. They make a point of showing you how alone they are, craving the attention it brings them, and becoming even more embittered when others leave them alone. Ironically, when others do try and support them or offer them friendship, they usually explode, projecting all their pent-up anger onto other person. It is easy to see how the repressive and the reactive nature together create the perfect dynamic of the typical dysfunctional codependent relationship.